All I am listening to from now until Sunday the 11th of July is New Order's World in Motion. That's because the Euros are upon us. Now, I cannot wait. Let's get stuck into my predictions for how Euro 2020 is going to go. We're going to start with the top goal scorer. There are so many incredible strikers competing at this tournament, and I cannot wait for it to get started. Kane, Mbappe, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Immobile. Lots of conversations about who's going to finish top. Immobile, by the way, I threw him into that conversation because I think people are giving him a lot of stick. People are underestimating him. He doesn't necessarily perform for the international side, but he's a very good player. Does very good things for his club. So I'm putting him in the top table conversation. But it's tough, isn't it? It's tough to think about who is actually going to get it. See, it's difficult because what we do is we often think of the side that they're playing for. The side that they're playing for, the further that side go, the more likely you are to score more goals. Therefore, it makes sense to perhaps think about a French player. Benzema, Mbappe, both serious contenders for this. But for me, the man who is head and shoulders above every striker in world football, I'm talking about Harry Kane. Don't tell me I'm biased. I don't want to hear it because I'm not. I am completely impartial. I am doing nothing but studying the facts. I've downloaded the data. I've looked at all the players competing for this auspicious award. And for me, it's undoubtedly Harry Kane. Harry Kane will be the top goal scorer at Euro 2020. ATAF. And that's a fact. Next up is a huge coveted award, and that is Player of the Tournament. There are a lot of players to consider here, but there's an overlap. I think a lot of people, when they talk about the Player of the Tournament, are thinking along the same lines as goal scorers. They're thinking, is it going to be Mbappe? Is it going to be Benzema? Is it going to be Harry Kane? But for me, I think we need to be a little bit more left field. I think perhaps N'Golo Kante is a shout. Perhaps Toni Kroos is a shout. Perhaps Bernardo Silva is a shout. But for me, Player of the Tournament is going to be... It's Bruno Fernandes. For me, it was a toss-up between Joshua Kimmich and Bruno Fernandes. And I think that Portugal are going to go further in the tournament. He's going to have more opportunities to demonstrate his brilliance. And therefore, I'm going to award this to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes has been insatiable this season. His appetite for goals truly unreal. Broke records. Had a good season for Manchester United, despite the fact that it finished at such a low ebb. And I think that Bruno Fernandes will take what happened at Manchester United, use it as inspiration to do his best to go one step further. He's going to fall short, obviously, but he is going to have a huge tournament. I think Bruno Fernandes will definitely be Player of the Tournament. Now, if you watched my video yesterday on the youthful jewels in the crown that are going to this tournament, you'll know who I'm about to say. I'm sure you all know. But for those of you who didn't, and a fair few of you didn't, by the way, didn't do especially well, I'm going to go into it again. I think the young player of the tournament is going to be a fairly easy one to decide, but it's also a player that none of you are talking about. Everybody's talking about Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Phil Foden, but it's not going to be any of the above. There are some hugely talented young players going to this tournament. I'm so excited to see a lot of them play. And for me, it's going to be one of two. It's De Ligt at Holland, who nobody are talking about, by the way. Why nobody acknowledging Holland as potential winners? They just don't seem to be getting any respect, any sort of traction when it comes to the conversation. I think that they are in with a shout. And I think De Ligt is a big reason why. But the other player, it's Alexander Isak. I spoke about him yesterday on my video, so sorry to go over old ground. But this is the guy. This is the jewel in the crown of that Swedish team. He is the Robin to Zlatan Ibrahimovic's Batman. A brilliant player, so up for it, so keen, so hungry, such a good eye for a goal, fantastic on the ball, brilliant vision. This guy's going all the way to the top. And what I can't understand, you know, if you're in the market for somebody who knows where the back of the net is, if you're a club that are looking at somebody who can finish, but you aren't quite in the market for the likes of Mbappe or Haaland or Harry Kane or whatever it is, this is your guy. This is your guy. Real Sociedad are a club who, although they have high aspirations, you should be able to prize away one of their best assets. There's no reason why somebody with a few quid can't get hold of Alexander Isak. Truly gifted player. And he's undoubtedly, Player of the Tournament from the youngsters. It's time to do our flop of the tournament, and we're going to do it specific to a country. We're also going to do it for a player. That's coming up. But we're going to do it for a country. For me, I think there are a couple of contenders that could fall drastically short. But I'm going to have to go. Germany were on my mind here. But I'm actually going to go with Belgium. Belgium are going to go to pot. They are going to have a disastrous tournament. They're going to be completely flat, completely uninspiring, and let themselves down because they are so gifted on paper. Part of the reason I think it's going to go wrong for them is Roberto Martinez. I have no faith in him. I think he's such an average manager. I don't get why he has such allure. I don't understand why he's held in such high esteem. I don't know why his name is mentioned for some of the best jobs in the game, because for me, he is distinctly average. And I wouldn't have him managing my Sunday League team. He's just not good enough. I also think when you look at their squad, although they're incredibly gifted, such phenomenal players. You know, it wouldn't be a surprise if Kevin De Bruyne, should he make it, is player of the tournament. However, when you look at some of the players that are still making this squad, they're aged, man. So many of their team are distinctly average. I mean, when you think, like, what are Mignolet, Vermaelen, Alderweireld, what are they doing around that team? It doesn't make any sense to me. These players were at their best about a decade ago. And even then, some of them were fairly shaky. It's now time to do the player that is going to flop at the tournament. I don't want to do this. I don't want to say what I'm about to say, but I have to be true. I have to be honest. I have to simply enunciate what I've witnessed. And what I've witnessed is Timo Werner leading the line for Chelsea all season. He's about to do something similar for Germany. I believe this player will be flop of the season. I don't really want to go into it. I find the whole thing really depressing because I would love him to be good. I would love him to prove me wrong. It would make me, nothing would make me happier than England were to win the tournament and Timo Werner win the Golden Boot. But sadly, that's not going to happen. My selection for flop player of the tournament, Timo Werner. Right, my underdogs. Who could surprise everybody and ultimately claim Euro 2020? Is a toss-up for me. And it was a Scandinavian toss-up. I couldn't decide between Denmark and Sweden. On one hand, I think Sweden are brilliant. We've discussed some of their players, and we know that they turn it on at tournament football to England's detriment on a few occasions. However, I think Denmark are brilliant as well. They have such good players. You know, when you think about the Danish team, it's class throughout. You know, with Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Andreas Christensen, Martin Braithwaite, Delaney. It's a good, strong, experienced team. Combine that with the fact that they are almost guaranteed to be out of the group. This ties into my previous prediction, which is that Belgium are going to capitulate. If Belgium capitulate, that puts Denmark finishing top of their group. That bodes very well for them. Finland, Russia, both good sides, but those two are playing each other. What an explosive clash that's going to be, by the way. I cannot wait for that game. But I do think that Denmark are going to surprise a few people. And I'm sorry to the Swedes, because you are a Rizzler paper away from being my selection here. It's a really good squad. They've got the experience of players like Schmeichel and Christensen, and then they've got the youthful brilliance of Skov Olsen and people like that. So I think they could go an awful long way. And also what they have the know-how and nous of winning it. The spirit of John Jensen in 1992, a tournament Denmark shouldn't have even been in. They won it. The Arsenal midfielder scored the goal. Here, do you want a quiz? Should we end on a quiz? John Jensen scored one goal for Arsenal. It was a peach of a goal into the top corner. Who was it against? I'll give you a clue. It was London opposition. Should we do a present for somebody? This will be towards the end of the video, right? So I'll know if you watched this far, which is good for my retention, so I appreciate it. If you get it right, I'm going to find a way of giving you a present. But lastly, it's time to announce who is going to win Euro 2020. There is now no doubt in my mind. We know who's going to win this, don't we? It's England. Undoubtedly. I am being completely and utterly neutral. I'm being completely and utterly devoid of any bias. England are going to win Euro 2020. I'm now going to listen to endless renditions of New Order's World in Motion, and I truly believe that this time, more than any other time, this time is coming home. Right, that concludes it. They are my predictions for Euro 2020. Let me know how you feel about them. Let me know who you will be backing, and let me know what you think of all of the categories that I have selected. I want to see your choices below. May I ask you finally, If you've enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a sub. And as always, if you could give it a like, I will be ever grateful. Until next time, my friends,